Hello, back in the game, YusefWateef. So I'll start with the hard part first. This won't be easy for either one of us. This may be valuable, but it may not be enjoyable. But I think at this point, I've earned your attention. I think I give you enough ear candy to really enjoy a lot of the fun, freewheeling. For people who don't know, most of the time I talk about money, saving money, making money, earning money, investing money, cryptocurrency, regular money. I talk a lot about social issues, globally and locally with friends who are from all parts of the world. I talk about world travel quite a bit. I talk about places I've lived, places my friends have lived. I bring people in from all over the world. I encourage people to travel abroad and see more of the world. This is what some people would call, I guess they'll call it mental floss, or what's another one? Mental wealth. Because over the past week, from a lot of the people that come to me for advice that I'm proud to be able to help and talk to, not just professionally, but socially, have come to me with a couple of problems that they all feel are unique because of the world we're in right now, the situation we're in, and the hard times we're in. Because this is one of many hard times. Hard times are going to keep coming. A lot of people who are like us, and if you're watching, when I say like us, you're kind of like me. You're not normal. You're not regular. You're one of those people who probably did things on their own terms, the way they wanted to. And for most of us physically, but for a lot of us, even just mentally, you left home. You left people, and it was easy if the people you left were losers, people who were never going to have anything, people who were genuinely bad. It's easy to leave those people. And not to claim to be all woe is me and hard done by, for me to leave home. And for those who don't know, I was born in a very famous place that perhaps during our grandparents' period was a really booming place, and it's really gone downhill. There's no one left there that lives there anymore. It's been downgraded from, I believe, a city to a town because the population is in negative. I was born in Niagara Falls, New York. And the worst part about me leaving home, first mentally when I was about 15, and I realized I got to get out of here if I want the life I want. And then physically, 2 weeks after my 18th birthday, when I went to college for my first degree. They're not bad people. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they were. Maybe the people I was related to and hung around were bad people, and perhaps mentally I'm just telling myself they weren't. I don't know. But to me, they were regular people. They're going to have regular lives. They're going to have regular incomes. They're going to have regular experiences. They were going to die a regular death. And I had to grapple with not being okay with that. I had to really struggle with, why am I special? The answer is, I don't know. I just had to be okay with me being special enough to decide I wanted more. And then you get out in the world. And I can tell you all kinds of cool stories about doing the running of the bulls in Spain and climbing Mount Fuji in a thunderstorm. But I also want to tell you, there were those hard times where I'm in a country and an employer doesn't fill his end of the contract to pay me or pay me on time. It's easy to want to go back home. You may be someplace mentally or physically in the world where it's not safe, and you have to decide, where do I go from here? Well, the easiest thing to do is to go back home. But I want to tell you why you can't. I'll tell you first, when I didn't listen to the people who told me. I had a couple of people that I grew up with that did the same thing. As quick as they could. Got out of high school, left, started having a great life in some other place in the world, would come back to visit. And one of my friends came back to see if there was a way to make a difference in the city. Poured heart, soul, education, time, money, personal sacrifice, and realized this is exactly what I wanted to leave. A resentment built up that we talked about privately, because no one wants someone that they love to think that they hate them because they don't want to be like them, or don't want the things that they had in life and realize they can't offer them anything better. Doesn't equal hate. I was told then over the phone when I was living someplace on the other side of the world, why? Don't ever come back. You'll just be reminded of why you left, only it'll be worse. Because there are those people, most of the people who are going to think this way are people you know, probably people you're related to, who plotted on your downfall. They sat back and they said, I can't wait for you to fail out there thinking you're better than the rest of us and be stuck back here. And they'll laugh and they'll hug you and they'll say welcome back, and they'll have that weird nastiness. Let me back up and say shout out to everybody's friend BK from the Rockies. He always reminds me this to tell everybody to like, share, and subscribe. Please do. This channel has grown tremendously. Thank you for all the subscribers that have become part of the team. Thank you, more importantly, to the people who share this on their Facebook or their Instagram or wherever you find interesting conversation. I tell everybody, share it and tell your friends to subscribe for a month. If after a month, after seeing the 3 or 4 different ways that I discuss topics with my friends, if it's not something they like, that's okay. They can leave, but give it a chance. Just got some bad news right here. You could have texted me with bad news. Not going to be able to make it to Sao Paulo next week. I understand, because we're on hard times. I went back to my hometown for about 6 months at one point with the same foolish head full of fluff and candy notion of I'm bigger, I'm better, I'm educated, I'm financially stable, I'm going to go back and make a difference. And I realized the people who are going to have better in life were like me. They asked someone and then they got out. I decided to be one of the people that someone could ask. I'm glad that right now, a lot of young folks and young-minded folks, some of the people that I counsel are well over my age, have come to me to ask, what do you think about this situation? I'll give you a situation that's happening all over the world. A lot of the people who come to me for advice are either working abroad through a company or at university, and their university sent them abroad to another country. All universities and all companies are now sending out letters saying, whoever you are, wherever you are, get back to the United States right now. This is an order. And I understand why they did that. I understand why companies have to say that for liability reasons. But then the problem becomes, is it the smart move? It's easy to say, hey, like Flemd says, he says, hey, Flemd and I said, hey, it's this coronavirus. I'm not going to limit it to that. As a matter of fact, I didn't put the word coronavirus anywhere in the description or anywhere in the title, because this is not about the coronavirus. This is about hard times. If you are not going someplace safer than where you are, don't go. I don't know if anyone gave you permission or told you that it was all right to put you first. Because, by the way, if you're going to succeed in life, you're going to have to. I have people talking to me broken up inside about going back to a country where things aren't as safe, going back to a community where there was no job waiting for them, because the kind of jobs that allow you to travel the world or the kind of education that allows you to travel abroad may not exist where you're from. You may be leaving a life that you've set up for yourself, friends, family, family by choice. Don't go back. You might have some difficult conversations, and by difficult, I mean difficult for you, not them, because it'll be easy for someone to tell you why you should give up all the things that you've accomplished someplace else to come back and suffer with them. Don't listen. You might have to, I hate saying this, you might have to cut them off. You might have to say, you know what, if you don't understand why I don't want what you have, then we can't have this conversation. Brother Craig Washington just posted something. He said, the last time I went home, it was a bunch of veiled, passive-aggressive resentment from so-called friends and extended family. That energy is destructive. I agree with you. I agree with you. I had to get to a point as I rapidly approached maturity to not be angry at these people. That's weird even for me, because I can be an angry person. I'm spiteful and vindictive. But for that, I can't be angry, because I can't imagine what it's like to realize that someone who was in my situation in life, and I tell people all the time, I've never been cool. I've never been that guy. I've never even been the smartest kid in my class, even though I've never failed a grade. I just decided I wanted more. I went to college, I started lifting weights. I started understanding, going out there, just talking to girls. I started reading books that weren't assigned in class, expanding my vast life. I mean, look behind me. What are you guys doing during this time? You guys saw my Instagram post where I said, hey, I'm gonna spend some time reading a book a day again like I used to. And then to be looked at by people who realize they might have been smarter, faster, taller, stronger, and had more money, and they say, well, wait a minute, how did you get out there and do it? How dare you have your success in life? Hopefully something bad will happen that will force you back here with us, so that we don't have to look at ourselves. Instead of saying, how did he and how did we not? We'll say, hey, it couldn't have lasted even if I had tried. See, that's what they say. BK from the Rockies, much like we discussed in our last group stream, you can't go back. It's not safe. If you do go back, you may be pulled down and lose everything you built, unfortunately. Yeah. I used to think this was a black problem, but then I realized it's not. It's a societal problem. One of my good buddies is a author from the southeast of the United States. It's a country boy who happens to have 2 degrees in writing. And I'm oversimplifying. It's some kind of specific writing. And he said, what I realized growing up is that nobody had it worse than the Indian kids and the black kids where I was from. But you know who else got their asses kicked? Who else were the ones that had to motivate themselves to have more? He said, because where I was from, and this is a quote from him, he said, where I was from, if you weren't into cars, college wrestling, and beer, or at least 2 of those 3, you were called all kinds of names. They questioned your sexuality and your manhood. I was like, what? He said, yeah. He said, I was just a regular white kid that liked to read a little bit more than everybody else was comfortable with. I didn't get a pass. I was like, really? White people go through that? He said, yes. He said, I'm not trying to compare. It's not an ugly dog contest. I'm not comparing what I went through to what most black people go through. But don't think it's a different set of people that try to hold somebody back. And then I realized maybe it's just a people society problem. Maybe because so few of us do get to live our dreams, that watching it is painful for others. I'll talk to anyone. I'll take a phone call from anyone. Anyone can call. Anyone can talk to me about my life. These are people that I grew up with, family, friends, people I've known forever. But I can never go back. There are people who I love that I want to bring with me, that I want to say, hey, where you are, hey, wherever you are, why don't you come here to be with me? But I'm never going back. And it does hurt. Hurts a lot. It's another painful one. Owl's Odyssey says, I was asked today if I was going to go back. I had the same response. Why would I? If you need someone to talk to because you are one of those people who's choosing between staying where you are and having a fighting chance against these hard times and going back to a place that's permanently hard, going back to a place that you fought hard to escape from, call me, message me. My email address is in the description. I'll sit down and talk with you privately, because it took a lot of people to bring me the success that I have. I didn't do it alone. I had a lot of people who sat with me and counseled me through those hard times, and I got weak, and I wanted to go back. And they said, no, you worked too hard to leave, and what are you going back to? See, that's the other thing, and I don't want to go too far away from the mark on this. The other thing is, once you've seen what's around the corner, and around the corner is where my friends and I would say, all the cool stuff is when we were adults, because when we were children, and your mom's watching you play, and your dad, your mom, and they all say, listen, you can go to the corner on your bike and back. Can't go around the corner because I can't see. So around the corner is where all the magic is, even though what's around the corner is a lot like the corner you just came from. Once you've seen what's around the corner, once you've left home, once you've been in a situation where the people judge you by the person you chose to be, not the person you were supposed to grow up to become, can't give that up anymore. Had a conversation with somebody I still love. They may not love me anymore, but I had to say, listen, you're talking to me as if I was the man I should have grown up to become instead of the one I chose to be. Now, if you want to continue this conversation, great. You'll speak to me the way I'm speaking to you. But if you don't, I'm simply going to never speak to you again. I'm never going to acknowledge your existence. And it'll be just like it was before. And that put them in an awkward situation because people desperately want you to come back home. Mentally, they want you to be stuck where they are. I know people that have left home to go home. What does that mean? I know people that have left where I was born to go to another place and situation that was exactly like the one they left. They didn't upgrade their lives at all, not even a little bit. And that also hurts. I'm like, what do we do with that? Like mentally, where do I put that? How do I charge that to the game? For a lot of Americans, I think what Al said is true. She said, I think that to some people, having nothing in the States is better than having a little something someplace else. Yeah, I think that's true. Having a little something someplace else. Don't try to convince people. Be the person that they can talk to if they want to talk to you about it. Respect on both ends. But don't go back. Don't go back to where you came from if you know why you left. If you left for a reason, that reason is still there. It may be wearing a different face. It may be wearing a different mask. It may smell different. It might be an older or a younger person. But that attitude of the people that you left behind, you can't go back. Even though someone you don't know could go back to your city and do just fine because they aren't in the same group that you used to be in. Doesn't matter race, doesn't matter religion, doesn't matter financial background. The people who are watching me here, they probably decided they simply want it more no matter what it is. I say that to say this because I've got a bunch of other things today. I'm fortunate enough to be in a situation that I've built that allows me the privilege of working from wherever I choose with lots of my clients online. One of the other things that I've done, and I don't know if anybody here has seen it, I started a Patreon because a lot of the people that I work with have told me that the information I give away on YouTube can get a little deep into the weeds, a little too technical, and I should put it into something like Patreon where people who want that granular level of detail on how I do things professionally, how I do things socially, what's brought me a lot of success. I hope you enjoy the titles: Arrogance Level, Cutthroat Level, and Arcane Consultation Level. This is a lot of one-on-one. Check it out on Patreon. On Patreon, they actually have a thing where you can subscribe to my channel, even if you haven't become a Patreon, and you can just see when I post things. I post a few things that are for public consumption so that you can see what I focus on and what I get into. I was giving us some gems today. That security comes from the known versus the unknown. She said, we know how bad it can be in the States, but they'll never know how bad it can get in other places, and that scares those who never left. That needs to be on a t-shirt. That needs to be on a t-shirt. When you're trying to, oh, there are helicopters outside. You know, in Brazil, they had an instance where there were these people who decided to go have a beach party when everybody's supposed to be at home safe. The helicopter driver came in and strafed at an angle where it used the helicopter rotors to put them in a sandstorm. That was some of the funniest and coolest things I could possibly think of. Wasn't going to kill them, but it definitely messed their afternoon up. BK from the Rockies says, when you're trying to upgrade your life and others around you aren't, you need to be careful around them. Those orbiters will be the ones that will probably bring you down, unfortunately. Yeah. You know, the people who come for you will never be strangers. Strangers take you the way you are. If you look like someone who needs to be respected, they'll probably treat you that way, but it's going to be somebody who resents that you became someone to be respected. Thanks, BK, for putting that back up there again. I actually put it on my little nameplate as well. I appreciate it. Listen, I'll end the way I did in the beginning. Be sure to like, subscribe. I promise I'm not always as maudlin as this. Look at the videos before this. Look at some of the other subjects. Be sure to subscribe, and please be sure to share this with someone. And I meant what I said. If you need somebody to talk to or to email with, you're not by yourself. I'm here.